Did you know that with a little bit of knowledge in CSS and scripting, you can inspect the behavior of web pages and learn all sorts of interesting tidbits you otherwise wouldn't know? Like finding out what's really going on in that super dinky picture we were given during the web event. And do you know what else? I know something you don't know. But not for long, because I'm going to tell you right now. Hello, amazing friends. This is Flobius, also known as your 8-Bit Mom, here with a few tricks up my sleeve. After inspecting this website and running through its code, I learned a few secrets about the upcoming event that was teased by Hoyoverse. One thing I discovered is that many of my suspicions were confirmed. Now, before I spill my soup, standard disclaimers do apply. Some of what I'm going to talk about is information that I extracted directly from the event's website. Some of this is speculation. Anything that I have speculated is not confirmed by Hoyo. It's my own thoughts. It's what I think is going to happen, so take it as that. Furthermore, I will be diving into lore. So if there is something about Genshin Impact that you do not want spoiled for you, turn this off now, because I'm jumping all over the place. Let's dive in. It is no secret that we are moving on to Nodkrai after this region. So there is no surprise when you run through the code for this event and you come up with Nodkrai. Many of the image files are named Nodkrai, many of the events are named Nodkrai, and many of the behaviors of this website are named Nodkrai. So we know where we're going next. We learned that when the frost moon ceases to turn, nations faltered and fell into ruin. We learned that the iridescent moon shattered. The crimson shadow sank into the abyssal sea. We also learned that when the eternal moon fell, the heavens and earth were thrown into chaos. I have seen many theories dissecting this on a very literal level. That these three pieces of information we've received have to do with the actual Moon Sisters. However, if you think about Genshin Impact on its basic level, it is a game of storytelling. It is a game of attributing fairy tale to reality. Who is Amy if not Princess Fischl? Who is Layla if not the Pale Princess? We have seen time and time again stories in Genshin Impact with characters who meet those stories. Is it that an actual eternal moon fell and the heavens and earth were thrown into chaos? Or is the eternal moon a person? Now, stay with me here because initially this might sound a little bit off. But ever since I saw this event online, I couldn't help but think how much that circle of moons looked like Raiden Shogun's skill. Who was guarding eternity? Go back to Inazuma. Go back to the Archon who gave up her responsibility and hid in her own head. Raiden Shogun. Genshin has never been a literal game. It has been a figurative game based on literature. My prediction is that the eternal moon has to do with Raiden Shogun. Now, when the frost moon ceased to turn, nations faltered and fell into ruin. We can take that literally. We can take it as a frost moon stopping. However, we can also take it figuratively. Because if you look up at the top of your screen during the web event, what do you not see if it isn't a carbon copy of Citlali's skill? I don't think that this is talking about an actual frost moon. I think that this is in reference to Citlali, who, being a frost moon, caused something to happen when she ceased to turn. A moon did shatter. However, if we are speaking about characters, then who could this iridescent moon be? The definition of iridescent is something that shifts colors at different angles. So angle your thoughts that way. My first thought when I think about the iridescent moon is Candace, with her one blue eye and her one gold eye and her moon-themed diadem. Think about it. We have never had any lore about Candace. She showed up, she disappeared. It's time for her story. Nodkrai is a nation that worships the moon. We know that. We know that they take their power from worshiping the moon goddess. We know that they have a power we don't yet understand. Where does that power come from? What if Raiden Shogun was meant to rise? What if Raiden Shogun was meant to do great things, and this was predicted? What if the trauma in her life set her back? What happened when Raiden A secluded herself in the name of eternity? Was she supposed to rise to an occasion? Was she supposed to inherit the goddess's power? Was she integral to some higher purpose that wasn't achieved? Now, if she was supposed to rise to some great celestial occasion and she didn't, it's easy to connect that calamities could have occurred. So consider the timing. When she essentially gave up on this world and went into her own mind and meditated on eternity, did that coincide with something that happened in Teyvat? The other thing to consider is that the Guardian of Eternity stopped guarding eternity. Were there consequences because of that? Was she meant to guard eternity? Did the people of Nodkrai potentially create a situation that would cause her to guard eternity, such as killing her sister and friends? What if the moon worshippers of Nodkrai orchestrated her downfall in an attempt to get Raiden A to seclude herself and guard eternity? What if that was all meant to be? Permit me to jump over to Honkai Star Rail for just a moment. This is a game that Hoyo is actively connecting to Genshin Impact in many ways. We know this. There is a faction in Honkai Star Rail known as the Stellaron Hunters. The Stellaron Hunters listen to a being known as Elio. The Stellaron Hunters believe Elio has foreseen all paths to finality. Elio knows that there is one path that will prevent the galaxy from falling into darkness. What if the moon worshippers of Nodkrai follow Elio? What if they are creating these micro calamities for people to push them into the right direction that will cause them to prevent macro calamities? And what if 3 of those chosen people have already failed at fulfilling their needs? A perfect replica of Citlali's skill, Dawnfrost Dark Star, appears in the web event. And I don't think that was by coincidence. Especially when we're talking about a frost moon and we consider the name of her skill, the Dawnfrost Dark Star. What is a moon if not a dark star? And what does Citlali's skill do? It turns. Now this skill invokes the obsidian Teetsmatil Eatspapa, a creature that is reputedly terrifying beyond compare to deal Night Soul aligned cryo damage. Eatspapa was named after an Aztec goddess named Eatzpapalotl. That name either means obsidian butterfly or clawed butterfly. Eatzpapalotl was also one of the Tsutsumimi, also known as star demons that threaten to devour people during solar eclipses. Tying that back to my theory, the image swirl at the top of the screen is named using the Chinese word for star demon. And as for the third, I do have my speculations. Citlali does also say,
"Warning, warning. Red, red, the color of danger, has now arisen within that pair of eyes."
And I have always thought that it could very well not mean that a pair of eyes has turned red, but that red has risen within a pair of eyes. And who has a pair of eyes that red has risen within? So perhaps Auroron has more to do with this than we think. He does have 2 different color eyes. Perhaps iridescent eyes. Each one of these snippets talks about calamity and catastrophe and something happening because a moon failed to do what it was supposed to do, turn in the sky. One fell, one shattered, and one ceased to turn. Now we can look at this as moons, or we can look at this as people with the potential to do great things. Raiden Shogun might have been meant to do something more, and instead her trauma caused her to lock herself into her own mind. Perhaps she had the potential to be the chosen one for the people of Nodkrai, but she wasn't. Perhaps her chance to succeed fell. Sitlali, over 200 years old, is the greatest shaman of the Masters of the Night Wind. She can do anything, and not many people can do as much as her. But she secluded herself and locked herself away and failed to be the leader that the people of the Masters of the Night Wind needed. She ceased to turn. As far as that third moon, well, Auroran does have a shattered soul. And the new moon, a new moon rises. The people of Nodkrai believe that a new moon is going to rise. And perhaps that moon is also the person after which this event is named. PAIMON, the Welkin moon. PAIMON is the new moon. PAIMON will rise. PAIMON will achieve greatness. So here's something to consider. Maybe this is an analogy to great people falling. Maybe it isn't about the moons physically being destroyed. Maybe it's about Raiden Shogun locking herself in her own head when she should have been a leader. Maybe it's about Sitlali, socially repressed Sitlali, hiding herself away, the strongest person in the Masters of the Night when she should have led them, and she didn't, she hid. Maybe the people of Nodkrai, the people making these prophecies, are waiting for someone to rise to the occasion. And maybe that someone is our little floating friend, our emergency food, PAIMON. And for my final reveal, why do I think I'm at least partially right about all of this? Well, because I found it. I found it in the website. I found it in the event. Peering through all of the pictures that are listed in the event, one of them is not showing, one of them is hidden, and I'm about to show you which one. Let that sink in as you consider liking and subscribing, because I do appreciate all the support. And I'd also like to know if I've missed any other imagery. Do you see something I'm not seeing? Are you making a connection that hasn't already been made? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. Amazing friends, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support by watching this video. I am more excited about Genshin Impact than I have been in a very long time. I hope you are too. And I can't wait to find out what happens in 5.5. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Flobius, also known as your 8-Bit Mom, telling you that I hope you have an amazing day. Keep it real and play nice.